Every year, people make promises to themselves. They say this will be the year they change. They will wake up earlier, work out consistently, eat clean, learn something new, or finally launch that idea they keep talking about. But within a few days or weeks, the energy starts to fade. They miss one workout. They hit snooze once. They put the project aside for a day, then another. Eventually, they stop altogether and convince themselves they will try again next month. This is the cycle of inconsistency. It begins with motivation and ends with disappointment. People rely on how they feel, and when that feeling is gone, so is their progress. The Stoics lived differently. They did not wait for the perfect moment or the right mood. They believed in action rooted in discipline. They trained themselves to show up regardless of how they felt, because they understood that consistency is the foundation of all success. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that he was born to do his duty as a human being. He woke up each day with purpose, not because he always felt like it, but because he knew it had to be done. The question is not whether you feel ready. The question is whether you will act despite how you feel. This is the path the Stoics walked. This is what it means to live with discipline. By the time this video ends, you will no longer need to depend on motivation. You will understand how to build a life where consistency becomes a part of your identity. Let's begin with the first principle. Chapter 1. Destroying the need for motivation. Motivation is the most unreliable fuel you can rely on. It feels strong in the beginning. It gives you a rush of excitement. You feel unstoppable for a moment. But that moment never lasts. The truth is that motivation will always abandon you when you need it most. It tells you stories that sound sweet. You will feel more ready tomorrow. You just need to rest a little. The conditions are not perfect yet, but perfection never comes, and tomorrow only becomes another excuse to wait. The Stoics never waited for the right time. They believed in acting because action was their duty. They did not sit around hoping to feel inspired. They trained their minds to show up because consistency builds character, discipline builds strength, and feelings are not facts. Marcus Aurelius had to remind himself each morning that he was not born to lie under warm blankets. He wrote that a person must rise and do what they are meant to do. He knew the mind resists effort. He also knew the only way forward is to push through that resistance. Waiting to feel ready is a trap. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you average. You brush your teeth not because you are motivated, but because it must be done. Apply that mindset to everything that matters. Show up for your goals the same way you show up for your basic needs. When you rely on emotions to guide your choices, you build inconsistency into your life. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that emotions are temporary. One moment you feel energetic, the next you feel tired. If your actions follow your moods, you will never build momentum. Discipline is the opposite of that chaos. Discipline is calm, it is firm, it does not argue with your feelings, it does not care whether you feel excited. It only knows that the task is there and must be completed. The key is to remove choice. When something must be done, make it non-negotiable. You do not ask yourself if you should do it. You simply do it. The more you practice this mindset, the less power hesitation has over you. Choice creates mental fatigue. It wastes energy. If every day you ask yourself whether to train or work or commit, you lose strength in that decision-making process. The Stoics eliminated that by creating structure. They followed their principles without questioning them. This is how true consistency begins. Make a list of actions that you will do every single day without fail. No decision, no delay. These are your non-negotiables. Keep them realistic, keep them clear, but never break them. In a world full of distractions and temptations, the disciplined person stands apart. They do what they said they would do, not once, not when it is convenient, every single day. That is what builds inner power. Skipping one task may seem small, but the Stoics understood that small slips turn into habits. If you allow yourself to skip today, it becomes easier to skip tomorrow. Discipline is a wall built one brick at a time. You cannot afford to remove a brick every time you feel tired. When you push through discomfort, you prove something to yourself. You are stronger than your excuses. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to be relentless. Small, consistent effort will always outlast bursts of motivation. Consistency is not a feeling, it is a decision. The decision to show up. The decision to keep going. The decision to trust that each step, no matter how small, is building something stronger inside you. That is the first step in the Stoic mindset. Destroy the belief that you need to feel ready. Replace it with the understanding that action is always stronger than emotion. Then commit to acting whether you feel ready or not. Chapter 2. Building an identity, not a habit. Most people fail to stay consistent because they focus only on what they want to do. They say things like, I will try to wake up earlier, or I will try to go to the gym. But trying is not commitment. Trying gives you an easy way out the moment things get uncomfortable. The Stoics did not try, they became. They did not experiment with discipline as a temporary routine. They made it part of who they were. Their discipline was not a task. It was a reflection of their character. Epictetus once said that you must first decide who you want to be. Once you make that decision, your actions must follow that identity. This is a powerful shift. It means you stop treating discipline like a tool you pick up only when you feel like using it. Instead, it becomes something you live by. Ask yourself a serious question. Are you someone who is trying to be disciplined, or are you someone who simply is? There is a world of difference between the two. The one who tries has doubts. They negotiate with themselves. They give themselves permission to quit. The one who is disciplined has already decided. They do not need to be convinced. When you begin to act like the person you want to become, something changes. You no longer rely on external motivation. You no longer treat effort as something unnatural. Instead, every action becomes a vote for your future self. The Stoic does not say, I hope I can be consistent. They live as if consistency already defines them. They wake up and act without asking if they feel like it. They know that each repetition strengthens the identity they are building. This mindset applies to everything. If you want to write, see yourself as a writer. If you want to be fit, see yourself as an athlete. You are not borrowing discipline. You are becoming the type of person who lives it. When an athlete trains, they do not wonder if they should train today. They train because it is what athletes do. In the same way, when you identify as a disciplined person, you remove the space for debate. You act because it is who you are. Each time you follow through on your promise, you cast a vote for your identity. Each time you skip it, you weaken that identity. Your mind remembers. And it begins to build a pattern. You are either reinforcing discipline or feeding inconsistency. If you build your discipline on motivation, you will crumble the moment life gets hard. But if you build it on identity, you will not. Because your identity is stable, it is not affected by temporary feelings. It is reinforced by action. Visualize who you want to be, not once. Do it daily. Each morning, remind yourself of the person you are becoming. Then let your actions align with that vision. That is how you build internal strength. That is how you stop drifting and start living with purpose. There is no secret formula. Only repetition. Only follow through. Every moment you say no to comfort and yes to effort, you sculpt your identity. The Stoic understands that who you are is not fixed. It is shaped by discipline, by consistency, by action. This identity becomes armor. When you know who you are, doubt has no room to grow. Distraction loses its power. You stop chasing habits. Instead, you build a foundation that holds steady no matter what life throws at you. Do not say, I hope I stay consistent. Say, I am the type of person who never breaks a promise to myself. Say it until you believe it. Say it until it becomes true. Because once it is part of your identity, discipline is no longer a struggle. It becomes second nature. Chapter 3. Embracing the suffering. Discipline is built in discomfort. This is the part most people avoid. They want progress without pain. They want results without resistance. But the Stoics knew better. They understood that suffering is not something to be feared. It is something to be used. Seneca once wrote that difficulties strengthen the mind just as labor strengthens the body. The pain you feel while growing is not a punishment. It is preparation. It is shaping you into someone stronger than you were yesterday. Most people quit when it gets hard. They see suffering as a signal to stop. But for the disciplined mind, suffering is a sign that you're exactly where you should be. Resistance is not the enemy. It is the path. When you lift a heavy weight, your muscles grow because of the stress placed on them. The same applies to your mind. The more challenges you face and overcome, the more resilient you become. This is how the Stoics lived. They did not search for ease. They embraced challenge because they knew it was the only way to grow. You do not become mentally strong by avoiding struggle. You become mentally strong by surviving it. Each time you stay standing when everything inside you wants to give up, you harden your resolve. You teach your mind that pain will not break you. You must learn to lean into discomfort, sit with it, breathe through it, feel it completely. Then act anyway. This is what separates the ordinary from the exceptional. The average person avoids hard things. The Stoic confronts them head on. When you encounter resistance, whether physical or mental, you are standing at a crossroads. One road leads to growth. The other leads to regret. You must decide whether you will step forward into discipline or fall back into comfort. Pain is temporary, but the lessons it teaches you last forever. You gain insight, you gain clarity, you gain control. You stop being reactive and start becoming intentional. You stop fearing struggle and start using it to sharpen yourself. The strongest people in history did not achieve greatness by avoiding difficulty. They went through it. They stumbled. They fell. But they kept moving forward. They knew that mastery is earned through repeated trials, and each trial is a chance to rise. Your mind wants comfort, but comfort weakens you. It dulls your instincts. It lowers your standards. You must train yourself to become uncomfortable on purpose. Take cold showers. Wake up earlier than you need to. Do things that are hard, because through that hardship, your character is built. The Stoics practiced voluntary hardship. They denied themselves comfort so they could build resilience. They stripped away luxuries to remind themselves what really mattered. They chose discomfort when they did not have to. That is what gave them unshakable strength when life forced discomfort upon them. You are not here to avoid pain. You are here to become someone who cannot be shaken by it. When your legs shake and your mind screams for rest, keep moving. When doubt creeps in and you feel like quitting, stay focused. That is when your discipline is forged. The more you face suffering and stay present, the more power you gain. Not over the world, but over yourself. The Stoic does not need the world to become easier. The Stoic becomes stronger. That is the goal. That is the standard. Every moment of pain you endure today makes you more capable tomorrow. Each act of persistence adds another layer of strength. You become harder to break. You become sharper. You become unstoppable. So stop running from discomfort. Stop seeing pain as something negative. Start using it. Let it train you. Let it teach you. Let it transform you. That is the way of the Stoic. That is the path of true discipline. Chapter 4. Eliminating decision fatigue. Discipline is not just about taking action. It is about removing every obstacle that stands between you and the action. One of the greatest enemies of consistency is not laziness. It is decision fatigue. The more choices you leave open, the more likely you are to fail. The Stoics understood the power of simplicity. They structured their lives in a way that minimized distractions and mental noise. They knew that freedom does not come from unlimited choices. Freedom comes from clarity. When your path is clear, your energy is preserved and your mind remains sharp. Every time you ask yourself whether you should act, you drain a little more willpower. Every debate you have with yourself adds friction. Friction builds resistance. Resistance leads to delay. Delay becomes inconsistency. And inconsistency slowly kills your progress. The Stoic mind is not concerned with comfort, it is concerned with alignment. Once you know what must be done, there should be no debate. The decision is made once. After that, it is only about execution. You remove the option to quit. You remove the question of whether to follow through. You act because it is who you are. You must create rules for yourself that remove unnecessary decisions. These are not restrictions, they are anchors. They keep you grounded in your values. They prevent your emotions from steering you off course. They simplify your life so that your focus can stay where it belongs. Start small. Wake up at the same time every day. Choose a morning routine that never changes. Set fixed times for training, reading, or working. When you know exactly what happens and when it happens, you remove the internal debate. The task no longer depends on how you feel. It becomes automatic. Even something as simple as planning your meals in advance can eliminate dozens of daily decisions. That saved energy can now be redirected toward deeper focus and higher performance. Structure gives you strength. Repetition builds momentum. Systems protect you from failure. Marcus Aurelius wrote that if something is not true, do not speak it. If something is not right, do not do it. This clarity is not just about ethics, it is about energy. The more certain you are in your values, the fewer decisions you need to make, and the fewer decisions you make, the more you preserve your strength for action. Look at the most consistent people in any field. They do not start each day wondering whether they will show up. They have already decided. The work is part of who they are. Their structure protects their goals. Their discipline is supported by routine, not willpower alone. You must treat your goals the same way. Set non-negotiable commitments. Not just vague intentions, but clear actions that are tied to a fixed time and place. Build your environment to support them. Remove temptations that weaken your focus. Simplify your options so that the right action becomes the only action. Each layer of structure you add becomes another shield against inconsistency. The more automatic your routine, the more powerful your discipline. Your habits should require no thought. They should live inside your identity, executed with clarity and purpose. If you find yourself hesitating often, it means your systems are not strong enough. You are leaving the door open for weakness. Close that door, decide once, then commit fully. The time you spend deciding is time you lose progressing. A Stoic does not waste energy asking what must be done. A Stoic acts. With repetition, this becomes your default. It stops feeling like an effort. It becomes instinct. And when action becomes instinct, you no longer rely on motivation. You rely on mastery. Chapter 5. Winning the Mental Warfare. Your mind is both your fiercest rival and your most reliable ally. It will offer brilliant ideas in one moment, then whisper excuses in the next. If you do not learn to command these inner voices, they will command you. Stoic philosophy begins and ends with this truth. Mastery of self is mastery of fate. Epictetus taught that no person is free who is not master of themselves. Freedom is not the right to follow every impulse. Freedom is discipline in action, the quiet authority to decide your course and stay on it regardless of mood or circumstance. When the mind is trained, emotion becomes servant, not ruler. The untrained mind is a storyteller that thrives on fear and distraction. It will tell you that you have plenty of time, that tomorrow will be easier, that comfort is more important than progress. Accepting those stories leads to stagnation. You begin to mistake feelings for facts, and every small delay becomes another brick in the wall of inconsistency. Stoics counter this deception with ruthless clarity. They separate thoughts from reality, viewing emotions as passing signals rather than orders. Anger, doubt, and fatigue may appear, but they do not dictate the next move. The disciplined individual acknowledges the feeling, then chooses action aligned with purpose. Winning the mental war requires constant observation. Throughout the day, pause and ask, what story is my mind telling me right now? Is it urging me toward growth or pulling me back into comfort? By shining light on hidden impulses, you weaken their grip. A thought seen clearly loses its power to manipulate. The next step is deliberate redirection. When the mind proposes an excuse, respond with a constructive command. If it says you are too tired to train, reply that you will start with 10 minutes of movement. Action contradicts the excuse and rewires your brain towards self-discipline. Each successful override strengthens the circuit of resilience. Voluntary hardship is another Stoic weapon. Seek controlled challenges that push your limits. Rise earlier than necessary. Finish tasks without checking messages. Choose a cold shower instead of warm comfort. These small trials teach your nervous system that discomfort is not a signal to stop, but a cue to engage. Over time, adversity loses its sting, and you gain an inner calm that ordinary challenges cannot shake. Inner dialogue must become concise and purposeful. Replace vague hopes with firm declarations. Say, I will complete my reading before sleep. Say, I will finish my project before leisure. Speak these directives aloud when possible. The spoken word carries authority that silent wishes lack, and it anchors intention in the physical world. Repetition forges permanence. Each time you act in spite of doubt, you inscribe a new line in the script of who you are. The first override is hard, the 10th is easier, and the 50th feels natural. Eventually, decisive action becomes instinct. You no longer need to persuade yourself because the identity of a disciplined thinker has already taken root. Protect this mental fortress through environment as well as thought. Remove sources of trivial distraction. Curate what you read, watch, and listen to so that every input strengthens focus. Surround yourself with individuals who respect discipline. Energy is contagious, and the company you keep will either fortify or corrode your resolve. Remember that victory in the mind is never a single event. It is a daily campaign fought in ordinary moments. The instant you choose study over scrolling, the second you shut down pointless rumination, the evening you prepare for tomorrow instead of drifting into passive entertainment. Each choice is a soldier in your army, moving you toward mastery or retreat. When the inner voice says quit, answer with motion. When it says tomorrow, answer with now. With practice, your thoughts will learn their new role as advisors, not tyrants. Then the mental battlefield will become a place of calm, for you will have claimed the high ground of self-command. That is true victory, and from that vantage point, every external challenge becomes manageable. Chapter 6. Turning Discipline into an Art. At first, discipline feels like a struggle. You force yourself to wake up early. You push yourself through a workout. You sit down to do the work when your mind tells you to rest. It feels heavy. It feels unnatural. But if you stay committed, something begins to shift. The actions that once felt forced begin to feel familiar. What was once a battle becomes part of your rhythm. The resistance does not disappear, but your response to it changes. This is the moment when discipline begins to transform from a duty into an art. The Stoics believed that true power came from mastering the self. They did not approach discipline as a chore. They saw it as the highest expression of wisdom. To choose the harder path with clarity. To do what is right even when it offers no immediate reward. To act in alignment with principle rather than impulse. Discipline as an art is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is about showing up fully to each task. It is about bringing your best. Not just when it is easy, but especially when it is not. The disciplined person understands that how you do anything is how you do everything. You begin to take pride in the structure you have built. You find satisfaction in the small daily victories, not because someone is watching, not because you will be praised, but because you know the value of keeping your word to yourself. When discipline becomes an art, you stop measuring progress in dramatic transformations. You start appreciating the small refinements. You see the improvement in your posture during a workout. You notice the extra clarity in your writing. You recognize the calm in your thoughts when others are overwhelmed. Each of these moments is a reflection of something deeper, a steady shaping of your character, a polishing of your mind, a strengthening of your resolve. Over time, this quiet effort becomes who you are. You no longer ask if you will follow through. You already know the answer. This transformation is not loud. It does not announce itself. It grows in silence. It is built in early mornings and late nights. It is carved out in the repetition of routines and the refusal to quit. It becomes art because it becomes seamless. It becomes beautiful because it becomes honest. The Stoic finds joy not in ease but in control. Control over the mind. Control over the body. Control over time. This control is not about restriction. It is about freedom. The freedom to live without regret. The freedom to move through life with certainty. The freedom to create rather than react. When discipline becomes art, it flows through everything you do. The way you organize your space. The way you respond to difficulty. The way you speak. The way you treat others. It is no longer a habit. It is your nature. You begin to crave the process. You wake up wanting to improve. You train not for a result, but for the act itself. You work not because you are behind, but because creation gives you purpose. You move with intention. You act with clarity. This is the highest level of discipline, where every decision is deliberate, where every action is aligned, where your life becomes a reflection of your values. You are no longer at war with yourself. You are in harmony with your goals. The work continues, the challenges remain. But now you meet them as an artist, not a struggler, with skill, with grace, with strength. Discipline is no longer something you chase. It is something you express. It is who you are. Chapter 7. Building an Unshakable Mindset. Great achievements begin in the mind. A weak mindset collapses under pressure while a strong mindset thrives on it. The Stoics understood that external events mean little compared with the interpretation we give them. Therefore, the first step toward relentless consistency is forging a mind that cannot be shaken by circumstance. Radical honesty is the foundation. You must confront every excuse and rationalization without flinching. When progress stalls, be blunt with yourself. Did you show up or did you hide behind comfort? The Stoic does not soften the truth. The Stoic uses the truth as a mirror to correct course and sharpen intent. Next comes unwavering commitment. People who leave escape routes for themselves rarely finish the journey. Decide that your chosen path is non-negotiable. Write it down. Read it each morning. When the voice of doubt appears, answer with action. Commitment is proven not by words, but by repeated follow-through. Mastery over emotion is the third pillar. Feelings will surge and fade like waves. They are signals, not commands. A disciplined mind acknowledges emotion, but remains governed by principle. You can feel fatigue, yet still train. You can feel fear, yet still speak. Train this detachment daily by acting in spite of transient moods. Reframe failure as information. Every setback reveals a weakness to strengthen. Instead of labeling an outcome as defeat, ask what skill or strategy was missing. This perspective removes shame and replaces it with curiosity. The Stoic welcomes feedback because it accelerates growth. Expose yourself to controlled adversity to build anti-fragility. Take on tasks that are slightly beyond your comfort zone. Increase the weight in the gym. Present your ideas in public. Volunteer for responsibilities that stretch your abilities. Each successful effort raises the ceiling of what you believe is possible. Cultivate decisive self-talk. Replace "I cannot" with "I will attempt until I succeed." Replace "I am tired" with "I have energy for 10 more minutes." Language programs thought. Thought programs behavior. Guard your words and you guard your destiny. Use visualization as a daily primer. Close your eyes and see the disciplined version of yourself rising early, moving with purpose and finishing difficult tasks calmly. Mental rehearsal conditions the nervous system for execution. Pair this practice with a written affirmation, such as "I act with discipline in every situation," and review it often. Choose an environment that reinforces your identity. Spend time with individuals who challenge excuses rather than echo them. Arrange your workspace so that your tools are within reach and distractions are out of sight. Systems and surroundings act like silent coaches guiding attention toward what matters. Finish each day with reflection. List actions that aligned with your principles and note moments of hesitation. Celebrate the wins without arrogance. Study the gaps without judgment. This nightly inventory transforms experience into wisdom and prepares the mind for stronger performance tomorrow. With honesty, commitment, emotional mastery, constructive framing, adversity training, decisive language, clear visualization, supportive environment, and reflective practice, you shape a mindset that does not waver. Challenges will continue to arrive, but they will find you ready. An unshakable mind does not guarantee ease, yet it guarantees endurance. That endurance is the engine of lifelong consistency. Chapter 8. Destroying Distractions. To live with discipline, you must learn to protect your attention. In a world filled with endless noise and stimulation, the rarest skill is focus. Modern distractions are not accidental. They are designed to pull you in to hijack your mind and steal your energy. If you do not guard your focus, the world will use it for you. The Stoics lived without smartphones or social media, yet they still warned about scattered minds. Seneca wrote that people who are everywhere are nowhere. This wisdom applies even more today. When your mind is divided across countless inputs, you lose the ability to stay present. You drift through your day reactive instead of intentional. To stay consistent, you must eliminate what weakens your attention. Begin with your environment. Clean your workspace. Remove notifications. Turn your phone on silent and place it out of reach. Do not rely on willpower to resist temptation. Remove the temptation entirely. What is out of sight becomes out of mind. Audit your habits. Look at how you spend your first hour each day. If you reach for your phone first thing, your attention is already being sold to someone else. Instead, begin with stillness. Begin with planning. Begin with action. Your morning sets the tone for your discipline. Make it sacred. Time blocking is one of the most powerful tools for discipline. Decide in advance what you will do and when you will do it. This removes the space for distraction to sneak in. When your time has a job, it cannot be stolen by impulse. Set fixed times for deep work and treat those hours as unbreakable appointments with your future. The mind needs space to concentrate. If you try to multitask, you do neither job well. Focus on one thing at a time. Give it your full presence. Then move on with clarity. This single task focus is rare, but it is the foundation of high performance. Control your digital environment as strictly as your physical one. Unfollow accounts that offer no value. Remove apps that waste your time. Set time limits for entertainment and stick to them. Every minute spent in mindless consumption is a minute stolen from your potential. Create rituals that reinforce focus. Light a candle before deep work. Wear noise-canceling headphones. Close your browser tabs before starting a task. Small signals help your mind recognize that it is time to concentrate. These rituals remove resistance and create mental momentum. Recognize that boredom is not your enemy. It is a sign that your mind is adjusting to silence. In those moments where you feel restless, resist the urge to fill the space. Let your focus deepen. Let your thoughts slow. This is where real clarity is found. Discipline requires you to trade short-term stimulation for long-term progress. The dopamine spike from checking your phone fades in seconds, but the satisfaction of completing real work lasts much longer. Remind yourself that each moment of distraction resisted is a step closer to the person you are becoming. Build a life that makes discipline easier. Spend time in nature. Read books that sharpen your thinking. Engage in conversations that expand your awareness. The more you feed your mind with strength, the less it will crave weakness. When you destroy distraction, you do not just clear your schedule, you clear your path. You gain the power to move with intention, to act with clarity, to make progress without interruption. This is how you build consistency that lasts. The Stoic does not chase stimulation. The Stoic controls input so they can control output. You must do the same. Attention is your most valuable asset. Protect it. Train it. Use it to build something meaningful. When you master your focus, you unlock your full potential. Nothing becomes more powerful than a disciplined mind that cannot be pulled away. Chapter 9. Embracing the monotony. Consistency is not thrilling. It is not glamorous. It is rarely exciting. True progress is often repetitive. It is built through doing the same thing day after day with full effort. The world celebrates the highlights but ignores the process. The Stoic celebrates the process and lets the results speak for themselves. Most people crave variety. They want new strategies, new routines, new excitement. When repetition sets in, they lose interest. They convince themselves that boredom means something is wrong, but boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is a signal that you are deep in the work, that you are mastering the basics. The Stoics understood that excellence is forged in routine. They did not chase novelty, they chose simplicity. They found meaning in repetition. Because repetition is what strengthens the mind and sharpens the skill. It is what turns knowledge into habit and habit into instinct. Every great warrior, every great artist, every great thinker has trained through monotony. The boxer throws the same punch 1,000 times. The musician plays the same scale for years. The philosopher returns to the same questions over and over to deepen understanding. Mastery lives in repetition. If you want to be consistent, you must fall in love with the process. Do not seek constant stimulation. Seek consistency in execution. Wake up and do the work regardless of how it feels. Train your mind to find value in showing up rather than in feeling inspired. The disciplined person does not ask if the task is interesting today. They ask if it is necessary. If it aligns with their values, it gets done. This is how you separate emotion from purpose. This is how you build long-term resilience. There is power in doing something difficult even when it feels dull. It proves that your commitment is stronger than your mood. It proves that you can keep moving forward even when the excitement is gone. That is when real transformation happens. Monotony is not the enemy of greatness. It is the path to it. The more you repeat a task, the more deeply it becomes part of you. Your technique improves, your speed increases, your resistance fades. Eventually, what was once a struggle becomes effortless. Create systems that support this repetition. Track your progress. Use a calendar or a journal to record your streak. This visual record builds momentum. It reminds you that each day is a brick in the structure you are building. Do not break the chain. Protect it. Set clear goals, but shift your focus to the actions. Instead of saying, I want to achieve a result, say, I will repeat the necessary action each day. This mental shift keeps you grounded. It keeps you focused on what you can control. The actions, not the outcome. Some days your effort will feel powerful. Other days it will feel like a chore. The Stoic makes no distinction. What must be done gets done. They do not need every moment to feel meaningful. They trust that meaning is built through repetition. Find purpose in the monotony by remembering your reason. Why did you start? Who are you becoming through this process? The goal is not just achievement. The goal is transformation. Each repetition shapes your mind, your habits, and your identity. Train yourself to thrive in the quiet. While others chase distractions, you are building discipline. While others search for shortcuts, you are becoming steady and unshakable. While others complain of boredom, you are moving closer to mastery. The Stoic embraces monotony because they see what it leads to: strength, clarity, excellence. Repetition may feel small in the moment, but its impact compounds. Over time, it builds something unstoppable. Keep showing up. Keep repeating. Keep proving to yourself that consistency is who you are. Chapter 10. Becoming Unstoppable. After all the effort, after the repetitions, after the discipline and the discomfort, comes the final transformation. You no longer simply act with discipline. You become discipline. You no longer try to be consistent. You are consistent. This is the mindset of the unstoppable individual. To become unstoppable, you must remove the idea of choice. You no longer ask if you will continue. You already know that you will. The question of whether to show up has been answered. The decision was made long ago. Now you simply execute. The Stoics lived by this principle. They did not seek praise. They did not wait for approval. They acted because they believed it was right. They followed reason over emotion and commitment over convenience. Their power came from their ability to keep moving forward regardless of what stood in their way. The unstoppable mindset is built on identity. You no longer see yourself as someone hoping to change. You see yourself as someone who already is what they aim to become. You behave in alignment with that identity. You think, act, and live from a place of certainty. Each time you choose discipline, you reinforce that identity. Each time you finish the task, even when it is hard, you prove to yourself that you are not controlled by feelings. You are guided by purpose. This self-trust becomes your foundation. It becomes the engine behind every action. You become unstoppable when you stop negotiating with weakness. When the thought of quitting arises, you meet it with action. When excuses enter your mind, you respond with clarity. You remind yourself that progress is not reserved for the motivated. It belongs to the committed. An unstoppable person is not someone who never faces hardship. It is someone who does not stop in the face of hardship. They may feel pain, but they do not retreat. They may feel doubt, but they do not waver. They may feel fear, but they still advance. This strength is not given, it is earned. It is built through repetition. It is built through saying yes to the hard path over and over. It is built through quiet discipline when no one is watching. Over time, that effort becomes your edge. That edge becomes your advantage. The world respects the relentless. The person who shows up every day no matter what. The person who says, "I will not stop," and means it. That level of consistency becomes magnetic. It creates results that cannot be ignored, not because they are loud, but because they are undeniable. Write a declaration for yourself. I am relentless. I am disciplined. I am unstoppable. Read it every morning before you begin your day. Say it with full belief. Say it until every cell in your body aligns with those words. Let it become your truth. Then prove it. Set a challenge that pushes you to your limits. Go 30 days without breaking your routine. Train harder than ever before. Work longer and with more focus than you thought possible. Show yourself what you are made of. At the end of that challenge, reflect on who you have become. You will not only see results, you will feel different, more calm, more certain, more powerful. You will realize that discipline is not something you have to fight for. It is something you express effortlessly. This is the final step, the point where you no longer chase consistency. You embody it. You carry it into every area of your life. You become a person who keeps their word, who moves with intention, who rises above excuses. To become unstoppable is not to never fall. It is to rise faster every time you do. It is to walk with clarity when others are lost. It is to act with strength when others wait for permission. You are no longer trying. You have arrived. Keep going. Stay sharp. Be the example of what relentless discipline looks like. This is where everything comes together. After the pain, after the repetition, after showing up again and again without applause, you arrive at something unshakable. Not just discipline as an action, but discipline as identity. You are no longer forcing it. You are living it. This is not the end of a challenge. It is the beginning of a new standard. You no longer need reminders or rewards. You do what needs to be done because that is who you are. Every decision now reflects that identity. You move with purpose. You act with strength. You live with clarity. The Stoics taught that excellence is not an act, but a habit. That habit is now yours. You have proven that you can act without motivation. You have proven that discomfort will not stop you. And most important, you have proven to yourself that consistency is within your control. If this message lit something inside you, then take one more act of intention. Like the video so this message spreads. Share it with someone who is ready to rise. Subscribe so you stay close to the mindset that brought you here. You are no longer chasing a result. You are becoming someone worthy of it. Let that be your power. Let that be your discipline. Let that be your legacy.